Dean doesn't want her help and says Ellen might kill him if he, quote, ran off with her. Ellen is listening and has the world's cutest glare when he says that. She's glaring, but it's like more just like the principle of it.
But also, you should be afraid.
Joe is really amused that Dean's afraid of Ellen, but Dean is pretty confident that Ellen could do bad things to him.
And he's right.
Demons learn to be afraid of Dean Winchester, but Ellen Harvell does not. Sam and Ash have pulled up a match on that profile of their mom's death, and they need to leave right now, saving Dean from having to let Joe down any more gently. He's really trying. Dean, and by Dean I mean Jensen, is jamming out to Can't Fight This Feeling, and yeah, no wonder this band went on to have 2 great albums after Supernatural ended. He isn't even trying to sound good here.
I mean, he's
like,
not.
He has to purposefully sound bad, and he still sounds good.
Yeah.
And he managed it. I totally thought he couldn't sing.
I think the next time we, like, really see him sing is in, like, season 3, and he doesn't sound as good there at all. Like, he still sounds okay, but he definitely doesn't sound like he, like, goes on to, like, be a professional singer. But Jensen Ackles has, like, an amazing voice, like, an unfairly amazing voice.
I like when he sings with Lee.
Oh, same. They finally let him have a scene where he can sing for real.
Yes, you can do it now, Jensen.
And I love Christian Kane.
Sam is annoyed by the singing and interrupts to read us Andrew Gallagher's profile. Andy was born on June 30th, 1983, and according to his driver's license, he weighs 140 pounds. According to Sam, his mother died in a nursery fire on his 6th birthday. I think that means that Andy's mom would have died on December 30th? Am I correct? Do I know how to count to 6?
I mean, I'm not going to do it.
I don't, so I'm not gonna try.
Which means, like, after Mary Winchester, he is in debt, but no collection agencies are looking for him, which Dean notes is very weird. And no current address and no current employment. But there is, like, a previous employment, so they're like, I guess we'll go there.
He's just vibing.
Yeah, Sam says, like, if his visions aren't about the demon directly, they're about the other kids the demon visited, which is what prompted him to look for Andy, which Dean is very impressed with that logic.
And we're so happy he did.
Yeah. Sam and Dean meet a waitress. Later, I think we've learned her name is Tracy, but it takes until, like, I'd say 3/4 of the way through the episode for anyone to actually say her name.
Oh, I really, I know this actress. Not personally, but anyway, okay. When I first watched this episode, I started freaking out because I recognized her voice immediately, and it's Chiara Zani, and she's in a whole bunch of Barbie movies, and
Really?
like, I grew up with those.
Same.
And I started, like, freaking out and texting my sisters, like, she has a corporeal form!
Which ones is she in?
She was in, like, all the Fairytopia movies. Like, she was Dahlia, she was Nori, she was in Mariposa. Like, she just has one of those voices.
I love that. Vail, did you have something different to say there?
Oh, I was gonna bring up the Impala scene.
Oh, yeah.
and
Bring up the Impala scene.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Okay, because the scene was just so beautiful, and I was just gonna say, I hope that every road trip is like that. Just Dean annoying the shit out of Sam until Sam's like, look, I have information here that I've been nerding out about.
Yeah.
Because I would totally be the person to sing constantly, but not sing well at all.
I am definitely that person. I cannot sing. I cannot hold a tune. I am tone deaf as hell, but I do like to do it.
But when it comes on the radio, you gotta do it.
They meet Tracy. She's like, Andy always says something to debt collectors. They just leave and never come back. And Dean says that Andy's been left in a state by his aunt and their lawyers, and another guy, Weber, overhears them and sits down. Cannot shut up about how awesome Andy is. Says Andy can get people into anything. One time they went backstage at an Aerosmith concert, and yeah, I would kind of like to be friends with Andy. Just based on that alone, haven't even met him yet. I would like to go backstage at an Aerosmith concert.
And you know he didn't pay for the tickets for those concerts.
Oh, not at all.
No. Weber is a knockoff Frodo Baggins. Can we just agree on that?
Oh.
Right? He looks so much like Elijah Wood.
That is unfortunately true. Not that Elijah Woods isn't a good-looking person. He definitely is, but this guy
has
is
beautiful eyes.
He does.
This guy has like the crazy eyes version.
He does.
And Tracy tells them to check Orchard Street. Andy lives in a van. He likes to park it there. And she tells them that the van has a barbarian queen riding a polar bear painted on the side, which piques Dean's interest.
I mean, how would that not pique your interest?
Cut to the van, which Dean thinks is sweet. And he says sweet in such a, like, teen boy fashion.
Probably because Andy is living one of his teen boy dreams.
Yeah, my brother is 20, or about to be 20. This is exactly how my brother and all of his friends would talk about a car. This is aged perfectly. Men are still men.
Men are still boys.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. I don't even like cars, and I'm obsessed with this van.
Yeah, it's a pretty good van. I like that Dean and Andy have very mutual respects for each other's rides.
I love that it looks like it came out of like a knockoff D&D manual.
It is pretty cool.
Sam's in a pretty bad mood. He's getting really nervous that if Andy and Max are both killers, he then also must like be a killer by extension. Dean says Sam doesn't have murder in his bones, and Sam's like, I kill all kinds of things. And Dean says, those things were asking for it because we have already forgotten the morality crisis of bloodlust. That was 2 episodes ago.
Maybe if we just don't look at it, it'll go away.
To add to Andy's van and its like nerdy awesomeness, Andy's license plate is RUOBI1, which is RUOBI1.
Yes. And appropriate considering his powers.
Yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars references in this episode.
Yeah, I think Obi-Wan uses the Jedi mind tricks the most.
Yeah. And then also, like, when we first see the band, the song playing is a Stonehenge by Spinal Tap, which is a fake band from the 1984 mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap, which Dean used one of the band members, Nigel Tufnell, in season 1, episode 10, Asylum.
I want to find this song. It sounds good.
Andy is leaving a house in, like, a robe over his, like, clothes, and a hot blonde is, like, leaning way too far out of her second floor window to be safe to see him off.
She lives life on the edge, literally.
And Andy takes a cup of coffee from like a rando off the street and then talks with the doctor that Sam saw in his vision. So it is time to split up. Sam follows the doctor and Dean stays to watch Andy. Andy and Dean do kind of like clock each other as Andy pulls away. Like Dean's like still parked, but like you can see Andy kind of like looks at the Impala like that's a nice car. And like that's fair. Look at their rides.
I mean, it does look kind of cool.
And then Dean does the worst job in the world of tailing someone ever. He's been tailing people he's been hunting his entire life and he does the worst job tailing.
I don't know how they could tail anything
slowly.
with the sound of that exhaust.
That is true. That is very true.
Just gonna like follow a pedestrian really slowly in my distinctive car.
It's like not even Andy then like gets in the van and drives, and it's not like Dean is like following like a couple of cars behind. He's tailgating Andy. He's not even in like an appropriate distance back to just be like regular driving. I say as though I have a license, which I do not.
It's fine. It doesn't take a genius to figure out you shouldn't drive that close.
Andy gets out and walks back, and he's like a big fan of Baby, and I cannot help but think that like men's fashion was onto something in the mid-aughts with the accessories. Andy has on this like necklace, and Dean's got a bracelet on, and I'm a fan.
Right? I like it when guys wear jewelry.
Me too, and I wish that the boys had worn more and kept their jewelry.
Yeah.
Everyone should be able to express themselves freely through accessories.
Exactly.
Andy asks for the car and Dean jumps right out and lets Andy drive away as though Baby isn't the most important possession that he has.
I also have to wonder if Andy was like kind of also dealing with a possible threat at the time. Because like, as we mentioned, Dean has been tailgating him to this like empty lot almost.
Yeah, I don't know what Andy was doing.
And Andy's just such a chill guy, so he's probably just like, you know what, I'm going to deal with this in the most like beneficial way possible.
I mean, if I saw a Baby, I would also want to drive Baby, so... Sam sees the doctor like receiving a call, and so he like runs ahead to the gun store and he pulls the fire alarm so that when the doctor gets there he like turns and walks away.
Good
and
effort.
Then Sam looks up and sees Andy drive by in the Impala, and then like before he can react he sees the doctor on the phone again, and then Sam calls Dean like, what the fuck, why does Andy have our car? And Dean's like, I don't know man, he asked for it and I handed it over. He was Obi-Wan. And Sam looks up just in time to see the doctor get mowed down George O'Malley style by a bus.
Oh no, not George O'Malley style.
At least no one in the gun store died. That guy can still go hunting with his sons.
Yeah, the gun store owner didn't die, and his poor sons still have a dad. You did save some heartache there.
What's too bad about this doctor guy? I mean, he didn't seem like a terrible person. I like the way he walks down the street. He's just so, like, happy to be there.
Sam and Dean are then, like, sitting at the crime scene 2 feet away from the body, talking about Sam's vision, and no one is questioning who they are, why they're there. I'm not kidding. Like, actual distance they are sitting, like, on, like, a curb is 4 feet at the most from where the doctor's being loaded into a body bag. This crime scene is not secured. Once again, everybody loses their jobs.
You had one job.
Oh no.
Nobody who was producing Supernatural understood crime scene protocol.
Not one bit. I have to wonder if this is like the work of some supernatural force.
It's not even that they're not clearing the crime scene. Dean was not here, which means that Dean arrived at the crime scene and inserted himself.
And they were like, hey guy, yeah, you can stay.
Yeah. They let additional people enter the crime scene. It's not like they didn't like clear the people who are already there. They're just letting new people in.
The more the merrier.
I get that it's like pretty cut and dry. Like there was witnesses that saw this guy walk in front of a bus, but still, you have a duty to like pick this poor guy's body up without like an audience. In addition to them just talking about Sam's vision and no one talking to them, Sam's very, very upset. So much so that he is doing the whisper for himself. Like there's it's just him and Dean there, and he's still in the whisper. Like he's like self-soothing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that is so relatable. He needs to pat himself on the back now.
Andy is at the restaurant with Tracy and Weber, and he is really upset about Dr. Jennings dying. Like, really upset. And he wanted to see Tracy, who's the waitress the boys talked to earlier. And she's really happy to see him, and she mentions that Sam and Dean were there.
And she has a very soothing voice. I want to go to her when I'm sad.
Sam and Dean come by and they see that Baby is parked outside, and Dean's very happy that Baby is there, and Andy left the keys in it, which is nice, and Andy just like didn't open the trunk or anything, which is also good, and Dean's still like, I don't know if Andy's our guy, and this is where we learn some really fun facts about Dean, because Dean's an OJ guilter, and I like to imagine Sam and Dean in 1994 in a motel room by themselves, unattended by any parents, glued to the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase, like 11 and 15 years old.
Dean was like, someday I'm gonna be in a car chase.
I feel like Dean was yelling like, oh my god, he killed his wife, like during the chase.
I don't care if the glove doesn't fit.
Dean says that Andy doesn't seem like the stone cold killer type, and also OJ was guilty.
Okay, but this is surprising because he just had his like baby darling car stolen from him, and he's like, nah, Andy's not our guy.
I think that's the biggest clue as to how sure that Dean is that Andy's not the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because like, well, Andy did like steal the car, but like he left it for them with the keys still in it, and it wasn't damaged or anything. Like he could have just stolen it and gone on his merry way and skipped town, because like he could have like maybe figured out that they were tracking him or something.
There's a scene in season 3 where Baby does get stolen again, and Dean hyperventilates. He is inconsolable. For Andy to have stolen the car and Dean to not think that Andy is their guy is insane. Like, that is so, like, Dean is very, very convinced that Andy is not their guy.
Andy, do you understand how close you came? The only thing that saved you is the fact that you're just such a chill guy.
They break into Andy's van, and Dean describes it as magnificent, and it really is. There's a beaded curtain that you would think that Sam would appreciate more given the one that he and Jess had in their apartment. A disco ball, a tapestry of a tiger, a very large bong, and then Sam notices that Andy's reading these really intense books, Hegel, Kant, and Wittgenstein, who are all philosophers. I trust the former Stanford student to accurately identify when something is, quote, heavy reading.
I mean, I recognize Kant.
Yeah, me too. I did take some philosophy adjacent courses.
I didn't. Every time they try to teach me philosophy in my history courses, I'm like, tell these men to shut up.
I took some sociology courses, so there was some overlap.
But yeah, actually, you hear, like, living in a van, and you think, this has got to be a gross place, but, like, it's so clean.
Yeah, I mean, van life's become a thing in the 2020s, but in 2005, I don't think that was a big thing.
Like,
that was a skit on SNL.
Was it?
Oh, really?
It was a skit on SNL. Matt Foley was Chris Farley in 1995 or 6, I think, and he had this skit. If you have to look it up on YouTube sometime, it's like him and David Spade, and I can't remember who else is in the scene because it's just so freaking funny. But he's playing a motivational speaker named Matt Foley, and he's like, I'm here to help you get back on the right track, and he's like, or you're gonna find yourself living in a van down by the river.
Oh my gosh, I actually watched that one. One of our teachers showed it to us. I think Christina Applegate was in it.
Yep, that's who it was, yeah. And it's